Stop scrolling for plans and start living them. If you want to know how to find the real pulse of Colorado Springs, you need to meet the woman who's curating the city's best vibes. Hi, I'm Sandy Boble Zuniga, the founder of Colorado Springs Town Tidings. Be in the know on the go for all things Colorado Springs, delivered right to your inbox. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Sara Vaas, the founder of Dizzy Charlie's Music and Events. Sarah is a true community builder who has spent years transforming our local parks and venues into vibrant, welcoming spaces where everyone has a seat at the table. She's on a mission to bring our city together through the power of live music and shared experiences. And I'm so excited to share her story with you today. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so you have quite a connection to Colorado Springs and a backstory. And I want to start here. Your grandfather toured with a jazz band and actually played the Broadmoor back in the 1940s. Were you close to him? Did you grow up hearing his stories, or was it more like discovering this whole hidden chapter of your family later on?
Well, great question. So I grew up listening to jazz and big band because my dad would tell the stories of my grandfather. So my grandpa actually passed away when I was in fifth grade. So it wasn't really until I was more of a young adult that I started hearing all these stories about my grandpa's jazz band going on tour, coming to the Broadmoor. And actually, I found a picture of my grandpa playing at the Broadmoor with a singer named Hildegard. So it was so cool. The Broadmoor dug it up from their archives.
Wow.
Um, yeah, really cool. But as a kid, I just remember listening to records all the time and hearing stories about my grandpa. My family are big jazz musicians, and so I just grew up listening to jazz, and it was just part of my childhood. So it just was normal for me.
Wow. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Ohio, a little tiny town called Findlay.
Okay. And what was it like growing up there? And then how did you get to Colorado Springs?
Yeah, well, it was a great childhood. My parents were teachers, so we would take road trips in the summers. And that's actually how I came to Colorado. I was like 13 or 14 years old and said, one day I'm going to move to Colorado. So it's my parents' fault for taking me on vacation. But as a kid, just kind of normal upbringing. Just small high school. I was in marching band and played trumpet and piano. I went to the summer concerts in the band shell where my dad played in a big band. We would get ice cream afterwards and swim at the pool right there. So I had a really great childhood. We would go to theaters and plays where my parents both played in the pit orchestra. So it's the orchestra that plays during the theater and the musicals. So I
Wow.
just was brought up around music. So it was really great. And yeah, I ended up in Colorado, like I said, because I fell in love with it as a teenager. And just honestly, it was kind of a whim. I've been here about 15 years. I moved out here with a couple friends and just kind of made it work.
I can totally relate. I like to kind of get up and move to a new place just like for a fresh start or so. The one
Yeah, exactly.
when I've done it basically on my own kind of. But I can totally relate. And we're so glad that you're here. I've been here about 21 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And when I think back, it's one of those stories like, I can't believe I did that, but I got plugged in really quickly in the nonprofit community because that's where what I was working in my kind of professional career at the time was social work and nonprofit. So I got plugged in right away and was one of the lucky ones because sometimes you hear those stories that people move out of state and it doesn't work out. So I'm happy that this community was just so welcoming.
Right. And I believe you're on the west side. pretty
I
much?
am. Yep, I'm a West Sider. I love old Colorado City. And yeah, I started out here and I bought a house here, so I love the West Side. Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely got its little charms. And even though
Mhm.
Colorado Springs is pretty big, the little pockets in there, they all have their charm. And the
Mhm.
West Side definitely is a great one for sure.
Yeah.
And I
It
can,
really
from what you just told us, I can see some of your childhood coming out
Mhm.
in some of the work that you're doing. So I can't wait to unpack that in a little bit. I
Yeah.
just love it. And I was a band rat kind of too. I played the flute and I played the bells at one point, and then I would do
Nice.
color guard. But I was not good at all. I just wasn't necessarily musically inclined, but I tried harder than anybody else.
As long as
I
you're having fun, that's all that matters.
Well, I would get so mad because I there was like 1 or 2 years that I played the glockenspiel, and so that's the bells and that big heavy metal bell set. I would take on the bus, and it was about a quarter mile to my house that I would lug that thing back and forth every day, and I
Oh my
would
gosh.
practice, and I would memorize a piece and then memorize another piece because I couldn't just read and do that, and it would take me weeks. And somebody would come in and who was also played the bells that was talented, and they would just get it, no practicing, no nothing, and I'm just like, what the heck?
That's so funny. Well, and some people just innately kind of have it. Some people it takes more practice. My grandpa, come to find out, my dad told me had perfect pitch. So he could just hear a note and he would know what note it was. And my dad would tell me these stories that grandpa would just sit at a picnic table and write out these compositions. He could just hear it in his head. So some people I'm not like that. I just kind of like what I hear. I don't know. I have good taste maybe. I don't know, or a particular taste, but I was never really good at trumpet or piano either. It was just fun for me.
Right, and the flute, I mean, I tried so hard. I had a certain, like, I bucked teeth in the space in the middle when I was young. I got teased a lot, but apparently it was not the right mouth for a flute, but I
Flute.
wanted to
Oh.
play. So I did it, but still.
Yeah.
And then my brothers played instruments, but my dad was in a band back in the 60s, and he it would get me so annoyed because whatever instrument we brought home, he could go ahead and play something on it. Meanwhile, I'm just like trying to figure out how do I put my mouth to get this sound, and he just pick it up and start playing. And I'm like,
Oh my
what the
gosh.
heck?
Wow.
he,
Yeah.
that wasn't his career or anything. He stopped. I don't remember. He was a drummer, but I don't remember him in a band when I was growing up. I knew it was a life before me,
Mm.
I guess.
Mhm.
So
So
I can
cool.
relate
Yeah.
on some of
Yeah.
that part.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
so you've been doing community work for over 20 years. And at what point did you look around the West Side or maybe Colorado Springs in general and say, you know what, this neighborhood really needs live jazz and people actually talking to each other? Was there a specific night or moment that maybe flipped the switch for you?
There was actually, and I love this story of how it all came to be. So like I mentioned earlier, I was working in nonprofit sector for an awesome organization where we did a lot of neighborhood and community organizing, working with neighborhood associations, throwing block parties. So already I'm in community, organizing events. But I was also volunteering for the West Side Neighborhood Board. So I'd go to meetings, I'd hear concerns, we'd plan events. Well, COVID happened, and all of a sudden, these musicians that I had been going to see at the local restaurants and bars, and we actually had some jazz clubs in the past in Colorado Springs. We don't currently. Um, So those bands I had just gotten to know because I had been watching live music for the last several years, they started reaching out and saying, "Oh my gosh, Sarah, can we play in the park? Like this jazz club closed down, we can't be inside, all this stuff." And I'm sitting here like, well, I'm a volunteer. I know how to pull a permit to use the park. Let's do it. So I started booking music outside in Bancroft Park in Old Colorado City. But there's a specific moment where I had just gone back to Ohio for my 20-year high school reunion.
Okay.
And my dad was like, "Hey, you're booking the big band. Here's some of Grandpa's handwritten on pencil and paper compositions for big bands." And if you don't know what a big band is, it's a 16-piece band. So it's like five saxophones, five trumpets, trombones, bass, guitar, keys, sometimes a singer. So it's many different moving parts. And my dad was like, "Here, take these six compositions back with you to Colorado and see if the big band will play it in the park." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yes, I'm so excited." But this is like fragile paper. So I made copies at the library to make sure the original stayed with me. But I asked the big band, it was in August of, and I always forget the year because I just don't know the years anymore, but I think it was August of 2021.
Okay.
Anyway, um, I invited all my friends. The park was packed, and the big band played my grandpa's music.
Wow.
And that moment, there's a picture of me on my Instagram that and somebody took it, and I'm just smiling, I'm just glowing, and I'm like, this is what it's all about because it was community, it was jazz, it was my grandpa, it was gathering in a community park. And in that moment, I was just like, I got to do this. This is what I got to do. Like, I am so happy, and everyone else is happy because I love looking around and seeing everyone else having fun too. And so that was the pivotal moment. And it took me about 6 to 8 more months before I launched my business from that date. I ended up taking some business classes to learn how to start a business because, again, I'm a nonprofit girl. I don't know how to do for profit, and I'm not a booking agent or a promoter. I was just a volunteer, booking the music that I liked.
Okay.
um, so I had to learn a lot about writing a business plan, um, becoming an LLC. And honestly, when I first was taking those business classes, I wanted to start a jazz club because at that point, the jazz clubs had closed. And I was like, I want to do a jazz club. But then I realized I don't have $1 million. I don't know how to run a bar and restaurant. So, so I backed off that dream initially and was just like, you know what? I'm just going to do pop-ups, as I initially called those, which just meant I was popping up in venues, in parks. I was booking music around town. But yeah, just to go back to your question, that night in August, that was the launching
Wow.
point for I gotta follow this dream. This feels too good not to be pursued.
Wow, that is such a touching story. I was getting chills, which I know you were probably thinking back and even telling it.
It's so special. And I know big band and jazz are very niche, but it was like music was just one of the elements that night. Another element was family, but another element was just taking it back to like childhood and just the basic ingredients of happiness and just hanging out in the park with your friends. So I just loved that feeling of just everybody hanging out and having a good time.
Right. And I can picture some of the feelings of being where your parents were in the orchestra pit and you watching,
Hmm.
kind of similar to this, but the fact that they were playing your grandfather's
Hmm.
original written music, oh my
Hmm.
gosh.
So
I,
cool. Yeah.
I hope they
Yeah, and
recorded it.
I recorded some of it because my grandma is still alive. She is 96, I think. So I got to share that with her, which was really cool. She got to watch from back home. So that was just really special. Yeah, it was very meaningful.
I can't even picture. One of my all-time favorite movies is Mr. Holland's Opus.
Oh yeah. Man, I haven't seen that in
And
forever.
yeah, I know. Um, but that was a Mr. Holland's Opus moment for sure, even though it wasn't your grandfather there, for you being part of the family. That was exactly when, at the end, when all of his students came
Yeah,
back, even though they
yeah,
were senators and all kinds of stuff, and
yeah.
played his music. It
Hmm.
gives me a Mr. Holland's Opus moment for sure.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yep, exactly. It's so fun. It's so fun to see even now of like how it's grown and changed. But that, yeah, that was the moment that I was like, this
Wow.
is what I want to do.
Yeah. And was that
So,
in Bancroft Park?
yes, it was. Yep, on the
Okay.
west side. Yeah.
Yep. And I know you do more stuff there that we'll talk about in just a minute. And I don't know if the rest of this interview we could top that story.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
That was a great one. So
Yeah.
you created your business and the name is an
So the
homage.
name, yeah, so the name Dizzy Charlie's is for my grandpa, David Charles. So I named it after him. I just jazzed it up a little bit. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You put the Dizzy in there and then
Dizzy.
called it
Yeah,
Charlie.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Great.
Hmm.
So there you go. There's so many threads back to your grandpa, even though you had a short period of time with him up until fifth
Hmm.
grade. How was he when during that time, as far as did you see him much? Or was he
Yeah,
off pretty much
he
doing
by then he had kind of stopped touring and he was a band director at a local high school.
oh
So
wow.
yeah, I definitely saw him a lot growing up and heard some stories from him, but we were always listening to old jazz records. But really, it's not until when I, like I said, when I was a young adult that I heard the stories from my dad, because my dad, his childhood, he remembers my grandpa coming home after gigs. He remembers my grandpa being on tour and driving everywhere. This wasn't a time when you were flying, so he's driving
Right.
a car, all the, across country. So yeah, it was just cool to hear some of those stories. And when I started booking my first few shows at a restaurant on the West Side, we even had a special drink offered at the bar that was my grandpa's favorite drink. And my dad told me he would he would wake up the next day and go in the fridge to make his bowl of cereal, and my dad would see this styrofoam cup from the night before from the gig that my grandpa had come back from. And in the styrofoam cup was this pink drink. And it kind of sounds silly, but it was called the pink squirrel. And it was very popular back in the day. But it kind of has it's like amaretto and milk and I don't know, some weird ingredients. It sounds really gross, but it's kind of an almond flavor um drink, and it actually tastes pretty good. And so the bar that I first started booking at offered that as a special drink during my jazz shows, again as a nod to my grandpa. So we had the pink squirrel at the bar, which was just special. So yeah, I kept weaving these little things, especially at the beginning, the more and more I learned about my grandpa.
Wow. That is awesome.
Yeah.
So then you basically say that you match venues with bands and audience with vibes. So even though we're doing storytelling now, and again, we
Yeah.
can't top that other one, but give me an example. When did you nail it so perfectly that even you were surprised by how well it all worked out? And what
Hmm.
venue was it and all that? I know I'm going to make you think a little bit, but was there one that was, or maybe there's a few that you were just like, yeah, this is it.
Yeah, no, that's a great question because I have really had to learn what people like. And so, um, and what fits in a space because every bar and restaurant is different. They have their own kind of built-in audience too.
Right.
And just because I like the band doesn't mean that the band is going to fit into the venue. So it's become something I have to really curate and also ask good questions. So sometimes people think of jazz and they think of many different things. So I always describe it as, do you want funk jazz? Do you want soul jazz? Do you want kind of Kenny G, like smooth jazz? Danceable New Orleans style jazz. So there's so many different types of jazz, and everyone kind of has an idea of what that means in their head. And I'm very quick to say it's not elevator jazz. Like, we
Right.
all kind of are like, I don't really like that. But um, the fun part is to say, gosh, there's so many different types of jazz. Do you want a vocalist? Do you want a scat singer? There's so much variety in just that one word. So I'm trying to think of a good example. And yeah, you've put me on the spot. Oh my gosh.
That's a lot to
I'm
think about too,
It's so
because
much.
and it depends on what area and who's in that neighborhood, like you
And
said.
the budget
Yeah.
and the space. I mean, there's so much. And I've had to expand beyond just booking jazz. And so I book Americana and country and bluegrass and rock and blues. And so I do a variety now because I'm plugged into the music scene from just the years of doing this. I started to learn more. So I really just have to listen. And even if it's not my favorite type of music, I can listen well and ask good questions. So I know, like, is this acoustic? Is this background music? Or is it the center stage show? Because that's a whole different experience as well. So yeah, I've had some shows that were just kind of a flop. But mostly it's just getting to learn the venue. Like there's a venue downtown that I'm working with called the Best Coffee and Lounge. And they were formerly called the Wild Goose Meeting House, coffee
Okay.
shop. They used to do a ton of jazz on the weekends, and it became kind of the spot. Well, I was like, well, I want to bring that back and make it jazz. Well, what's actually working better there is funk. And
Oh,
so I
really?
just had to almost like step back, and just because I wanted it, that's not what the venue wanted, and it's not who was coming out. So it's a downtown spot. It's later in the evening. Younger people are coming. They want a different option than some of the late night clubs. And so we're offering funk and more jazz rock, if you will, or jazz fusion. So even though I wanted more of the traditional straight ahead, I really had to just say, okay, it's not my venue, and I have to give them what the people want. So it's just a lesson in I have to be really flexible too and understand the right place and the right time for different types of music.
For sure. So with that example, I am very curious. Walk me through, how did you even find out that funk out of all the different music? And I don't know if funk was even on your radar. How did you even find out that that's the kind of music that they wanted, especially since it was a spot that had a particular jazz and did well, even though it changed names and owners and all of that? How did you take a survey? Did you, I mean, I couldn't even fathom, how did you get
You
from
know,
point A to point B?
well, sometimes there's not a science to it. Sometimes it's literally you just have to try and keep doing things, and the audience will tell you by if they show up or not
Right.
and how they engage with the music. So it honestly became, it was not a survey. It was just um I liked these guys. I knew the venue wanted more upbeat jazz. So I threw them into the mix And after about a month of doing music, a month and a half or so, it just became clear. It just became clear based on who came out, who came back, and which weeks they would come back. And so sometimes I just have to try. And that's the risk because most of the venues I tell them, like, give me at least 3 months to try.
Uh-huh.
Because that's when we can start to see a pattern of when are people coming back? What shows are they coming back to? What shows just feel good in the space and who's showing up? So I just have to be really aware. I have to show up to all of these shows, which might seem easy to do, but it's hard to do. It's hard to go out to every one of the shows that I'm booking. Sometimes I have 10 to 15 shows in a week, not so much anymore. It's kind of settled out a little bit, but I just have to try again, listen to what they want, try a couple different bands. And this is the good thing with the years that I've been working on this. I have a digital Rolodex, if you will, of all these types of bands. So when I hear, I want upbeat, I want danceable, this is my budget, I can kind of scroll through, listen, I have links to their music, and then I get to know people and I can trust them and say, I think you're going to be a good fit. Because you're professional, you're going to show up, you're going to do a good job. So I mean, it's sometimes sometimes I get lucky, I guess, is what I'll say. Sometimes I'll get lucky, and sometimes I'll have total flops. Like I said, like sometimes I'm like, man, I thought this band was going to be good here, and it wasn't.
Right.
And I just have to learn and adjust. So I try not to book too far in advance so I don't get stuck in a situation where I'm like, ooh, this band really wasn't a good fit here.
Right. And then have them in for multiple days or weeks or something that
Hmm.
it would have the same result. So, Sarah, you telling me you basically are taking spaghetti noodles and throwing them against the wall and
Against the
see what
wall.
sticks?
I mean, that's what you do when you start a business. You just got to see what works. But I think I have pretty good intuition, and I at this point in the first year, yeah, I it was a lot of throwing spaghetti at the wall. And I had some great venues that let me try everything I wanted. And I took a lot of the risk. I would guarantee the bands and I would take the loss if we couldn't get enough people in the door to cover the cost. So I one venue in particular named Suma on the west side, it's an old firehouse brick building. They let me kind of run the upstairs bar and book every weekend. And that's where I learned a ton. It was invaluable. I learned more about the bands, more about the sound, more about what people wanted. So now, year three in my business, I've curated kind of my go-tos that I can really trust and bring to other venues and stuff. So less spaghetti throwing now, but more in the beginning. Yeah.
So you're trying to say your walls are nice and clean, well, are
Yeah,
cleaner now than they used to
they're
be.
getting there. They're getting there. Yeah. Yeah. It's not perfect, but I mean,
Nothing ever is.
mostly when I'm booking, especially for these like summer concert series, um, I get questions a lot like, who are you booking? Who's the opening act? Who's it going to be? Is it going to be the biggest known band in town? And I have to say, well, first of all, we're on a budget.
Right.
But second of all, mostly people are coming out for the experience, the full package. Music, yes, but like I said earlier, music is one ingredient. Community, friendship, picnics, sunshine, it's a whole package. So sometimes I have to take the pressure off of myself too, of like getting the perfect band and just remember that it's the whole package. It's about the whole experience.
Right. And those concerts, and we'll talk about those are free and you're doing them in two venues this year. I think the Bancroft Park and
Mhm.
Memorial Park downtown, right?
Acacia Park
Oh, Acacia Park,
downtown.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, which is that new Acacia Park for you this year?
It is. That is brand new. And to my understanding, there has not been a summer concert series like this in over a decade. Um, some of the reasoning is for that is there just hasn't been someone to run it because it's not necessarily the responsibility of the city to do that. So you kind of have to find an event planner that wants to put the effort in and raise the money and do all of that. But it's also because the band shell is so old, it needs some renovation, which luckily is on the radar and going to be happening in the next year or two.
Yeah, that is, we've covered it where it's the restoration. I thought it was going to
Mhm.
be before this summer concert series, but it sounds like it won't be.
They're still raising money, and it's the Rotary Club, like you mentioned, that's raising money. So it's private funding. Um, and they'd like to use this summer series as a way to fundraise and let people know what's to come. So I actually just had a meeting with my sound guys yesterday at the park just to test out that, the outlets work, that we've got enough amperage for speakers so we can still make it work this summer. It'll be just fine. But it's
I
just going to
saw
be
the
that
picture.
much better. Yeah. And so people don't realize, like, I mean, this is a community effort just to get this off the ground. We all of the dollars to pay for musicians, pay for sound, pay for permits, security, marketing. It's fully fundraised. And so we have to get sponsorships, which is difficult. So that's why I said I can't pay the top bands in town.
Right.
Otherwise, this would be a huge undertaking. But I'm lucky to have received a small grant from Downtown Partnership to go towards this event as well. But I'm just so excited. But yeah, we're starting to get things going and getting the bands booked for downtown. So this is brand new this year. Bancroft Park in OCC, I had been running that summer series as a volunteer board member for 3 years until I was finally like, hey, I have an event business now. I'd like to do it as my business so I can actually pay myself because, doing volunteer work is awesome, but it's
Yes.
not sustainable. So,
Nope.
so I ended up resigning from the board and taking this on with my business now that this is my full-time job. I actually quit my nonprofit job, so this is it. So I
You're all
work
in.
really hard to, I'm all in. So I have to raise money to pay everybody. Bands deserve to be paid. And um, even though it's not as much as I wish we could pay everybody, we're doing a really good job. And I'm excited for a second concert series. Whew, it's going to be a
Right.
busy summer.
It is. So those
Yeah.
two parts, everybody needs to know that these are free concert series. You come
Yep.
in, again, it's about the musicians and you have your list of musicians. You've already vetted them. They're good no matter
Mhm.
what they bring. They may not be the top booking band for the Springs, but that doesn't mean that they're not just as good. It's just they haven't had maybe the exposure or something
Well, we
that some
have
of the
so many wonderful local bands. With the military being here, we have tons of Air Force musicians that have other bands. And I mean, we still have some really great big names out there still. And it's just going to be so great. And it's just a fun way to expose a lot of music and different genres. I mean, we've got everything from jazz, like I had to throw in like one jazz band, to rock, to blues, to country, um, to cover bands, so we've just got kind of a whole mix for everybody to enjoy. So yeah, free. Um, Tuesdays is in Bancroft Park,
okay.
6 to 8 p.m. And Thursdays is in Acacia Park from 6 to 8 p.m. So I will be there serving popcorn at both of those events.
Oh, nice.
You can't go to a concert without popcorn.
Right,
So,
exactly. And you know how they go because you grew up going to things like this in
yeah.
general. And then
Yeah.
so you're still bringing some of your childhood back in there. And I kind of love the fact that the bands that you're bringing in, like you said, we have all kinds of musicians from different places. Some are really good and it's kind of a hobby and I'm assuming and maybe they're booking some places, but they're not the well known. What I love about something like this in my mind is it fits so well with what you're wanting the vibe to be for these free concert series. It's about when most musicians love what they do regardless. And yes, they get paid and all that. But the ones that are less known and just want to get out there and play and just enjoy it, some of them have a different feel because there's
Mhm.
so much gratitude that they actually
Yes.
get to be in front of people playing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. And that's what's so special about a lot of these bands is they recognize this isn't like the amphitheater and they're not getting paid thousands of dollars, but trust me, like they are all so grateful to be on this stage, to be part of this vision. And they're just wonderful, talented musicians, and they know how to put on a really good show.
Right.
And they believe in community because I think
Yes.
like the underlying current with all of this for me that's really important is community.
Yeah.
And it's like however we can get people to gather is important. So I'm just so excited. And for the first time this year, because we had so much rain last year, we have some indoor venues if it rains, even though,
Oh,
knock on wood, it seems like a really dry summer is coming. But I do want to mention those partners because that's super generous to let us come indoors if it does rain. So downtown, Avenue 19 has a stage that they'll let us use if it rains. And then on the west side, Thunder and Buttons has an upstairs stage that we can use if it rains. But all of that, all those things are on my website, and I'll let people know about it as this evolves. But so there's tons of moving parts behind the scenes and people stepping up to help really make it happen. So
yeah, definitely. And that's interesting that you have indoor as well
mhm.
because I don't think they have that in other free concert series throughout the city because
I
different
know.
places have things. And if it rains, it's like I'll put them in the Colorado Springs Town Tidings, and I always say, weather permitting.
I
When I
know.
sent it out in the morning at 4:52 a.m. and now the concert is at 7 o'clock, I don't know if it's raining. I mean, I have the weather there
Yeah.
and it's like, hey, it might rain tonight. Well, they at in the morning, things aren't canceled yet. So I'm just like, make sure you check
It's
first.
well, and it's so tough because we could even just get some sprinkles, but we have to set up so early that it's like we can't call it super late. We have to kind of call it early. But you're exactly right. I don't want to cancel
Right,
for the sponsor's sake, for the band's sake. And since these parks are both right in the middle of a business district, we
right,
can do that. Whereas some of the concerts are really in a park that's in a neighborhood and there really isn't an indoor option. But we're lucky that these parks are in business districts, so it's easy to move indoors.
yeah,
It makes sense for people. And one thing I do with venues is consistency matters.
right.
People want to know every Tuesday, every Thursday, but if it's like, well, it's
Agreed.
canceled. Well, I don't know. Well, it's last minute. Well, where do I find the schedule? And oh, it's over here.
Yep,
It gets really confusing for people. So I'm
yep.
hoping by 1 o'clock of the day of the show, we will call it and let people know. Because and who knows, like we'll do our best. I'm just a person looking at the weather that maybe it looks like a storm and then the sun comes out, but
Exactly. It's
at least
Colorado.
it's Colorado, but at least we'll have the concert will go on. It may just be inside.
Right.
So,
you're out there and all of a sudden a hailstorm comes out of nowhere and it's like,
Or
what the
that too. So that's the trouble is most people are really patient with us and understand. It's
heck?
just I've done this too many years, and any event planner that does outdoor events knows Colorado is tough, and whatever decision you make, the opposite will happen probably. So I had to have a backup plan because I just hated canceling these bands that were counting on the money and just wanted to have fun and be part of the series. And so we just,
And the,
yeah,
and
got
the
some great
audience
partners.
coming. Yep. And the
Yeah.
audience coming too. Now, there are a few businesses or people that have events in general, and I have a whole event section in the town tidings, and I know who they are now that if they don't get so many people signing up for whatever their events, they cancel them. And
Yeah.
if you have three people, you know, I've done workshops. If I had
Hmm.
three people, I'm still showing up. Those three people are worth it to me. But when
Hmm.
things get canceled all the time, I can't trust it and I can't put it in the town tidings because I don't want my subscribers to be disappointed. And
Yeah.
so I just can't trust them anymore. So I love the fact that you address the consistency and
Yeah.
now you have contingencies as well. Of course, as
Hmm.
an outdoor venue, and doing something outdoors, we are subject to Mother Nature, and
Yeah. Yeah.
she doesn't call and tell us what she's doing.
Mm-mm. No, and yeah, I think I just kind of got tired of it last year. And I'm like, we're just gonna have an indoor spot and we'll see if it works. And if anything, we're bringing business to
Right.
these restaurants and bars,
Yep.
which, so it's a win-win.
I love
And
it.
like I said, we've already raised the money. We're gonna pay the band. We just want them to play so everyone can win here. So yeah.
Now, you've had so much success with Bancroft Park at OCC and Old Colorado City, and now with Acacia Park, I know that I have posted and I've covered in the town tidings the new band shell and what they're trying to do and
Hmm.
the concert series. In fact, that's how we connected.
Hmm.
And with that, there are people with many opinions, as we know in general. We can't get out of it. And although I want everything to be upbeat, wonderful, I want to be able to address some of the things because I know you're addressing them and they ask me and I don't have answers, but now I do
Hmm.
because you're the one who's putting it on in Acacia Park and you can answer some of the questions on there. And I want everybody to be at ease. I want as many people as possible to be there. I did a trivia about the band shell and
Hmm.
it was so awesome finding a picture back in, I don't know, I think the 30s it was,
Yeah.
where they had all of these couples dancing in front of
Dancing.
it.
Yeah. I've
It
seen
was
that
so,
picture. It's awesome.
that
Yeah.
was wonderful. And you should see, Sarah, all of the nostalgia that is coming
Hmm.
in those comments. We have people in the Springs, not only that were there at the time and kind of remember, but we have the children who remember, and some are like, my parents are the ones in the front left. It is
Oh
so
my gosh.
and then some say, I know my parents are there, I'm not sure where they are. And it just, I love the stories. So we get
Yeah.
all of that, and there is such a need for that. And I'm telling you already, some of the feedback, they want square dancing coming back there. So if you've
Okay.
got a band at some point, they want that back and to be participate in everything. And that one I may do too. That's really fun. And so that's one side, and they're craving it, and I love that. Then
I
we
was gonna
get
have swing dancing. I have a swing dance night. So
cool. I love it. And I'll be promoting all of these because I trust you. I
Yeah.
know what you're doing, and I know if there's any change or anything, you'll let me know so I can
Yeah.
tell my people. But the more people we can get in there, the better. So we have, and I'm also very big on community. I have every other Saturday, I do a community corner, and it's a nonprofit. And what I do is I have nonprofits that need donations. Everybody needs donations. That's a given. But I look for the ones that need volunteers because
Mhm.
I want our community to get out, meet other people with like-minded interests, and go do some good in the community, basically make new friends. And
Mhm.
now we grow. So you and I think, are very aligned in getting the community together and then seeing what happens when they do. Amazing things happen.
Yes.
So with that, we have that. Then we go to the other side of the coin. I kind of call them poopy pantses, whatever. But there are people that have um, not as bright of an outlook on things. And so with Acacia Park, like any park in not only our area, anywhere in general, we do have a good amount of houseless, they call them now instead of homeless, and things going on. Acacia Park had been overrun a bit by those, and so the poopy pantses are like, oh, the drug this and the homeless and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I don't know what to tell them other than if Sarah's putting on a show there and it's a family show, I don't think there's going to be nefarious things happening because she would never put something, in an area like that without knowing to put anybody in danger in general.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a great concern. Those concerns have come up in OCC as well. But luckily, since we're collaborating with downtown and the city, Downtown Partnership is providing security. So they already hire their own private security that kind of walks around downtown and helps support businesses that deal with some issues with some loitering and things like that. So we will have security on site every week to help move people along that aren't maybe being super welcoming. But one thing I used to work for a nonprofit that worked with homeless, transitioning into housing. So I'm very aware these are people as well. So I have a lot of compassion, but I also am of the mindset that the more of us that are engaging and activating a park, the less it's going to feel like we're not welcome or they're not welcome. Like it's a public place, but the more we activate it, and I think this is why it's part of the downtown partnerships long-term strategic plan with the renovation and activation of the park, is bring more people out there. And then it's going to feel safe. And then it's going to be cleaner because we're all using it instead of staying away from it because it feels uncomfortable. So yeah, I totally understand those concerns. And it, like you mentioned, it is family friendly. We want everyone to feel safe and comfortable. And when I envision these concerts, I see hundreds of people biking to the park, picnicking, throwing the frisbee with their kids, listening to the music and feeling totally safe and totally welcome. And like I said, having that private security, walking around will help if issues do arise. We never had issues in OCC. We had a great time because, like I said, we showed up in the masses. The people were there, and we kind of took the park back, if you will. So
Right.
I think having regular events, um, we're just we get to make it ours again, if that makes sense. But yeah, I hear those concerns. I've had people ask me, and we will have porta pots on site too, in case that's a question, since the restrooms aren't renovated yet, because that's part of the renovation is having restrooms um, and security. So we'll definitely, if things pop up, we can adjust, we can figure that out as we go. But we will even have security help us clean up areas before the concert starts. If there's trash or even things on the stage. Even doing that walkthrough yesterday, I'm like, oh, this needs hosed down over here. So they're going to help us clear things out ahead of the shows and make sure everyone feels really safe during the shows too.
Right. I love that. So thank you for addressing that. And I
Sure.
want everybody to, if you're in that area, also in OCC, if you're downtown OCC or anything, I want you to come out to these series
Mhm.
because Sarah is putting a lot of hard work, her own time. Yeah, she's got a business, but these are free series. And she's
Mhm.
got you in mind. This isn't
Mhm.
for her. This is for the community. And so the more we can support that, the more of these kind of things we'll have over time.
Yeah.
So now's the time. Let's support Sarah, but let's support each other in this.
Yeah.
And it'll
And
be,
bring your neighbors and friends. And
yes.
actually I have one more good story
Oh, good.
that helps relate to this is the community's park. And I'll tell you the story because it's really great and you might know some of it, but the funk band I mentioned earlier that I booked downtown, the band leader, his name is Greg. And Greg posted on Facebook and said, why are we not using this park? Again, he's in a band. He's like, I want my band to play here. I want my kids, my little girls. He has three little girls. He's like, I want my kids to listen to music. Can I just play on the stage? And he tags the city and the parks department. And that's how this whole thing started. Greg also happens to sit on the Rotary Club board, who
Oh,
decided to take this on as their project to renovate. And so this is a little teaser, but Greg's band is going to kick off the series because I want him to tell his story. He's a
oh, I love
regular person, he's a dad. He just wants to use the park. He wants it to feel safe for his three girls, and he wants to play on the band shell. So not only is the Rotary looking at renovations, but I'm also on a committee to talk about how to make it easier for the public to use the band shell. If
it.
you want to have a bridal shower on the stage, if you want to have a concert, a quinceanera, like we want it to be easier for just the regular person or
Right,
a festival promoter, whoever,
right.
to use the band shell. So I
Like,
just want to tell that story too.
yep, like Juneteenth or anything like that.
Yeah.
You could go ahead and reserve it and all
Yeah. Because it
too.
can be complicated for the everyday person to fill out paperwork and do a permit, raise money. But Greg, that's one of the reasons I didn't want to kick off the series with a huge band. I want to show the story of community and just an everyday person like wanting to use the band shell. So
Yep.
there you go.
I that is an awesome story. I knew you had many,
I think that's it. But yeah.
but that
Yeah.
showcases how one community members, a father, an everyday person, had one idea, one dream, one wish, and
Mhm.
now it sparked this whole renovation, this whole community thing. And sometimes we get in our own heads or we think, hey, I don't matter. And this is proof that one person matters. Look at what's been changed. That's how you came in, and now you've
Yep.
got a whole thing going on with it that you're going to bring the community together. Without Greg, you wouldn't, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be doing
I
Acacia
wouldn't be
Park.
here.
It wouldn't
Yeah,
be in your radar.
exactly. Exactly.
That
So
so
that's awesome.
that Yep, that definitely is a highlight for anybody. If you're wondering, do you matter? Or does your dream or your idea, will it matter in a community? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And even when I was in the nonprofit world working with neighborhoods, that was the same message was we can't sit and wait for a city leader to do it. It's our community too. And what we can do is we can work with the city and they will help us,
Right.
but it really comes down to like sometimes I'm fascinated. that people don't realize. Like, I'm just a person, like putting this on, like anybody could do this, you know? So yeah, it takes just one person and but then a whole community too. So I just love it.
It
It's
takes
been a
one
really
person.
fun adventure. Yeah.
Yep, takes one person's idea. And like you said, we can't wait for the city or a government body always, but we also
Hmm.
can't wait for just anyone else. Now, that doesn't mean everybody's ideas is going to take off,
Right.
but
Right.
I always say with anybody I work with in general, businesses and just anybody, I'm an encourager in general. So I always say we're only limited by our imagination. If you can dream it and it's something that is really in your head, bring it to me. Let
Mhm.
me see if I can bring it to fruition. And that sounds exactly what you do.
Yes. Yep. It takes years and lots of relationship building and
Yes.
connections and resources, but man, it's worth it. I think this summer is just going to be a blast. So I'm so glad I was able to share all the things, and I'm so
Yes.
excited for a busy summer.
Yes. So you do have your business is for profit. So you have the smaller venues and you anybody can come to you that needs music, I'm assuming, for any event. So it could be anything from business wants more customers to come in, so they want bands or something to play, they contact you.
Yeah,
If somebody has um I don't know if you do weddings and things like that.
I do.
Definitely
I do weddings, I do house parties, I do um
barbecues,
I event planning. Well, I was going to say I work with the Gold Hill Mesa neighborhood, and we're
right?
doing a field day. So I do potato sack races. I mean,
Oh, wow.
you name it, you name it. So, but yeah, I'm actually working with a wedding and going to this on site just to kind of see the venue this week. So, yeah, I mean, holiday parties, corporate parties, all that kind of stuff. So,
So is it more than just music that you'll plan other stuff or kind of give me a full range so anybody watching and listening knows
yeah.
exactly if they have uh, something coming up, what they should contact you for.
Absolutely, and that's a good question. And my business has grown and changed. So mostly it is music, but I also am an event planner. So the Dizzy Charlie's music and events.
Right.
So I have event services, I have music booking services, promoting and graphic design. So on my website, it shares those kind of three buckets. So yeah, so I'm kind of music and events now. Still with that dream of a jazz club. Someday, if I find my $1 million investor, I'll let you know.
Right. So I just want them to go ahead and have you on the top of their list if they have an event coming up to contact you and at least talk to you and see
Yeah.
if you can help them. So you have that part and then you have the free concert series. Now you talked about your Charlie's Angels and their
Yeah.
volunteer um and it sounds amazing. And is that for just the free concert series or did they help you
Um,
enjoy?
that's for everything. I
Okay.
started out with just the concert series because that's where I needed the most help last summer.
Yep.
And some of it's just helping me open the band shell or serve popcorn. But now Charlie's Angels, some of them help me hang posters downtown or hand out flyers, excuse me, at the farmers markets. Or some of them come to jazz at the mining exchange on Thursdays and take pictures and video for me if I can't attend. So I've got just a small group of us, and they're all music lovers and wanting to get more connected into communities. So um, if you can give one day, 1 hour, or a whole summer, I can use you because this business is me, myself, and I. So volunteers are greatly
I hear
appreciated
you.
and celebrated. we all get together and hang out and have become friends and, meet up on the weekends to see shows. So we usually have a good time too.
Great. So when your Charlie's Angels come together, what's the vibe like when you're setting up maybe before a show or after you're tearing it down? What's it like being part of the crew with you?
Yeah, well, it's like I said, it's we're all there to make friends and be part of community. And one thing I would say, I try to make Dizzy Charlie's events feel different. And I was like, well, what does that mean and what does that look like? But some of it is just helping my volunteers look around the room, find someone that's sitting by themselves and go talk to them. Give your chair up if the room is full. Open the door, refill a water. Like it's just being aware of the environment and making sure people are having fun. Um, so some of it's just we just have a good time, but we're all like good people. Like we just care about each other and I don't know. It's a culture of community and similar values around giving back as well.
And I think that's probably what draws them to you.
Yeah, it's great. It's so great. They're all really good people. And they all have great stories of like my partner passed, or I just moved here and I want to get engaged, or I don't get out of my house, I need a reason to show up. And so it's almost like by giving them this job, which again is just like, hey, just say hi to the bartender, make sure the band has water. It helps them be part of it and start opening a conversation that maybe they wouldn't feel comfortable doing.
Right. Yeah. And there are some people that might come that they don't know anybody yet, or I mean, maybe they want to be by themselves in that area,
Yeah.
listen and just get out. But then some are needing a community, but they just
Yeah,
don't
like
know
an
how.
invitation,
Yeah.
and an invitation to get up and dance, an invitation to come next week. Sometimes in this world of loneliness and we're behind the screens all the time, sometimes we just need someone to invite us in. So I think that's important to pay attention to.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a difference between being forced and an invitation,
Yeah.
and that's just a great thing. And so what are the ways that people can contact you if they're looking for more information? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, well, two ways. My website is a really great resource, dizzycharlies.com. And on there, you'll find the volunteer form to sign up if you want to be involved and learn, even just to learn more. There's also a performer roster sign up form. So if you're a band and you want to get on my list, fill that form out because then you'll be added to my list. I can hear your stuff. That's where you submit all your links and everything so that I can know more about you. And then I also have a link for sponsors if people are interested in sponsoring events. We're always looking for donations. But then if you also just want to shoot me an email and have a conversation or a question, my email is really simple. It's Sarah, Sara, at dizzycharlies.com. I also have Facebook and Instagram if you're on the socials. But
Right.
yeah,
Right. And what's the expectation if somebody reaches out to you for whatever reason because you are very busy and like you said, a one woman show, which I can relate to, what is the turnaround time that they might expect to hear from you, just in general, not putting you on the spot or anything, just for them to know? 24
yeah.
hours, 48?
I I would say a day or two. I really try not to leave any messages unread, even if
Yep.
I can't answer the question. I like to try to just be like, I got your message. I'll get back to you. But I have also told bands, feel free to bug me if you haven't heard from me or because sometimes again I get hundreds of emails from bands. I need to be reminded that you're in town or you haven't heard from me in a while. So I do my best, but I have an auto response on my email right now with those three links I just told you about for volunteering, the band roster, and sponsors, just to help with quick links. if that's the information they're seeking. But I do try to respond pretty quickly.
Yeah, I hear you. I do the same thing. And then it's like, okay, something, I don't have that information. I'm gonna have to take a little time. Let me put that on the side. And then it's another day and it's just like, oh shoot, I still have to get back to that person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It just happened. Now I'm going to go into dream world here. This might be a fun question for you, but if money and logistics weren't an issue at all, what's the one event you'd throw tomorrow that would make people say, I can't believe this is happening in Colorado Springs?
I want to do a jazz festival downtown
Oh,
or
that,
OCC, but I want to do like, so I go to the Telluride Jazz Festival every year and it's so fun. I want to throw a 2, 3 day jazz festival that spills out into the bars and restaurants at night. So you have like jazz after dark, close the streets and have your uh, parade like they do the second line parade like in New Orleans. So I want to do a jazz festival. That's what I would do.
okay, it's on record now.
It's been a dream. I've been talking about it. So maybe it'll come to fruition soon.
We're gonna have to make it happen now because
Yep.
we're dream makers. We're in the business of
Yep.
making people's dreams come true. Let's do it.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
All right. So
Yeah.
is there anything we missed? Anything you want to get out there that we haven't covered?
I think so. That feels like everything.
Okay, cool. I love the stories and it was such a pleasure. Sarah, really, this was such a gift. And I want to thank you for sharing your story and what you're creating here. I think what strikes me the most is how you've proven that community isn't something that just happens. It's something we build together one great night at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me and seeing the importance of this conversation and community and telling all the stories of the city and the businesses and the musicians. Because you're right, we have to be intentional about it. I used to say community starts at your front door. Like, do you even know your neighbor's name? You know, you might know their dog's name, but grab your neighbor and come downtown or to OCC. So yeah, thanks for this opportunity to share all about my passion project turned full-time job. Some days I think I'm crazy, but some days I'm like, holy cow, I have the coolest job ever. So,
Exactly. Again, we're kindred spirits. I feel the same way.
hmm hmm
Great. And so for our listeners who are ready to discover the best music events happening around town, check out dizzycharlies.com, DIZZYCHARLIES.com. And whether you're a musician looking to perform, someone interested in volunteering with Charlie's Angels, or just wanting to find your next night out, Sarah's calendar is where you'll find all of that, and you'll want to go ahead and take a look. And what I love about these conversations is discovering how the people shaping our city are often the ones who we haven't met yet. And every single one of them reminds me why I do these shows. If you want to stay connected to these stories and everything else happening locally, subscribe for free at cos.towntidings.com. Thanks for being here. I'm Sandy Bobles-Zuniga, and I'll see you next week as we continue celebrating our city one business at a time. Thank you, Sarah, for being here.
Thank you so much.